Someone is stalking me. It started with the feeling that I was being watched. You know that sensation when the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you can't shake the idea that someone's eyes are boring into you. At first, I dismissed it. Everyone gets paranoid sometimes, right? I figured I was just tired, stressed from work, or imagining things. But then the incidents began. It was a Monday morning when I noticed the first sign. I was heading to work, walking the same route I always did, a 15-minute stroll through a quiet residential neighborhood. The air was crisp, the streets were empty, and the sun hadn't fully risen. Halfway down the street, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. When I turned, I saw a figure standing on the opposite sidewalk. They were far enough away that I couldn't make out any details, but something about their posture seemed off. They were just standing there, motionless, facing me. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I picked up my pace, refusing to look back. The next few days passed uneventfully. I told myself it had been nothing, probably someone waiting for a friend or looking at their phone. But by Friday, I wasn't so sure. I was at the grocery store, browsing the cereal aisle, when I noticed someone standing at the end of the row. They weren't shopping, just standing there facing me. I glanced up, and for a brief second, our eyes met. Whoever it was, they were wearing a black hoodie with the hood pulled low, obscuring their face. I looked away, pretending to be engrossed in the nutritional facts on the back of a box. When I glanced up again, they were gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of my apartment felt like a footstep. Every shadow seemed to shift when I wasn't looking. Around midnight, I decided I was being ridiculous. I got out of bed, poured myself a glass of water, and tried to calm down. But as I stood by the window, staring out into the darkened street below, I saw them. The figure in the black hoodie. They were standing under a streetlight, perfectly still, facing my building. The police weren't much help. When I called them the next day, they asked if I recognized the person or if they'd made any direct threats. No, I admitted. But they're following me. They were outside my apartment last night. The officer on the other end sighed. Without more evidence, there's not much we can do. If you see them again, call us. Not exactly comforting. Over the next week, the stalking escalated. Everywhere I went, I caught glimpses of the figure in the hoodie. At the coffee shop, outside my office, even at the gym. They never approached me or spoke, but their presence was unmistakable. One night I found a folded piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. "I see you." My heart pounded as I looked around, but the parking lot was empty. I decided to install cameras in my apartment. If they were going to keep this up, I'd at least get proof. The first few nights, the footage showed nothing unusual. But on the fourth night, I woke up to a motion alert on my phone. When I checked the feed, my blood ran cold. The figure in the black hoodie was standing outside my front door. I called the police again, and this time, they took me more seriously. An officer came by, but by the time he arrived, the person was gone. "We'll patrol the area," he said, "but you might want to stay somewhere else for a while." That wasn't an option. I didn't have family nearby, and my friends all lived across town. So, I stayed. The next few days were a blur of paranoia. I double-checked every lock, drew every curtain, and barely slept. Then one evening, I found something that made my blood run cold. I was cleaning up my living room when I noticed a faint smudge on the inside of the window. It was a fingerprint. I couldn't breathe. How had they gotten inside? I scoured the apartment, but nothing seemed out of place. No broken locks, no signs of forced entry. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner of my bedroom with a baseball bat, watching the door. Around 3 a.m. I heard it, the faintest sound of footsteps outside my window. The next day, I took time off work and started researching private investigators. If the police couldn't do anything, maybe someone else could. I found a man named Greg who specialized in stalking cases. When I explained my situation, he nodded grimly. "This kind of thing isn't uncommon," he said. "But it's dangerous. If they're escalating, we need to act fast." He installed more cameras around my apartment and gave me a GPS tracker for my car. "If they're following you, we'll catch them." For a few days, things seemed to quiet down. I started to relax, thinking maybe the stalker had finally given up. Then, Greg called. "I've been reviewing the footage," he said. "There's something you need to see." When I met him at his office, he pulled up a video from one of the cameras in my living room. The footage showed me sitting on the couch, watching TV. But then, something shifted in the background. From the hallway, the figure in the black hoodie stepped into view. They stood there, watching me for several minutes before silently retreating out of frame. I felt sick. How did they get in? Greg's face was grim. "I don't know, but this isn't just stalking anymore. They're inside your home." That night, I checked into a hotel. I couldn't go back to the apartment. Greg agreed to keep monitoring the cameras while I stayed away. But even in the hotel, I couldn't escape the feeling that I was being watched. And then, it happened. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification from the camera app. When I opened the feed, I saw the figure standing in the middle of my empty living room, staring directly into the camera. They raised a hand and waved. Then, the screen went black. The police are investigating now, but they haven't found anything. Greg disappeared 3 days ago. And yesterday, I found a note slipped under my hotel door. "You can't hide from me. I don't know what to do. I don't know who they are or what they want. But I know one thing for certain. They're not going to stop."